We are going to give you a great session with Robin Pierce today, and I'm going to hand over to Jean Scott, who is going to introduce Robin. But just first of all, a little bit of information for those of you who may not have been here before. If you have a question for Robin today, just type your question into the questions section on that GoToWebinar control panel that's on your screen. The questions section is where you can type anything in if you need to ask a question, and at the end of the session I will pass them all over to Robin. Throughout the presentation as well, Robin might have a few questions for you, so again you can type your response to her questions in that same section of the GoToWebinar control panel that's on your screen. So any interactivity today, just type your bits and bobs into that questions section on the control panel that's on your screen. I'll hand you over to Jean. Jean, over to you.
Okay, on behalf of the Personal Training Council of New Zealand, we'd like to thank and welcome Robin Pierce to this webinar today. Just a little bit of information and background on Robin. Robin is one of the world leading experts in time management. She's also a past president of the Global Federation of Speakers. Now, some of the countries are the United States of America and New Zealand. Robin is one of the only members to hold this honour in New Zealand. She's also a certified speaking professional, and in 2003 was awarded the Spirit of Excellence Award to honour her excellence in the speaking profession. Once the webinar is over, Robin will answer all questions, so please do feel free to write those questions for Robin, and she will answer them at the completion of the 30 minutes. Thank you, Robin.
Oh, thank you, Jean. Great to be here, and welcome everybody. It's really fun to be hanging out with my fitness friends again. Just a quick thing I will just reference before I get into the content, in case anyone is recognizing the gorgeous woman on the screen there. She's the reason that I'm here, and this is my beautiful daughter-in-law, Lauren Parsons. One or two of you may know Lauren. She was at the, she received the Community Award at last year's fitness convention. Awards at last year's convention. What do you call your award night, Jean? Is it FitX or something?
Yeah, it's a FitX, the New Zealand Fitness Industry Awards.
That's the one. Yes, yes. Okay. Anyway, and it was where I met you, Jean, didn't I, at that event, and that's how this all happened, I believe. Yeah. So, right now, how to do more with less? Time-saving tips to grow your fitness business. What I'm hang out with a lot of fitness people. I've been interested in the whole world of fitness myself for quite some time, and with a daughter-in-law very active in the business, of course, that has given me some other insights as well. And what I observe constantly with people in the profession is that there are two levels where this time issue is a problem or a challenge or something to be considered, however it pans out for you. And that is not only for yourself but also for your clients, because many people will say, and I hear it in my part of my world as well, oh, I haven't got time to exercise, or I haven't got time to do the good quality cooking. So all of those sort of things have an impact on your business as well as your customers' lives. And for yourselves, you'll know what your issues are. So let's find out a little bit about the sort of things that you're interested in. That's a picture of me, just in case you want to know what I look like. So what are, and this is where I'd ask you to just type into the chat box there, into the question box, what are the things that are your particular issues? Is it too many interruptions? I don't know. Let me not lead the questions too much, but just quickly type in there some things that you would like to have some help on. And Jean, you'll just read out the, no, who was it, Annalie? Which one of you is going to read them out?
I will read them out.
That's great. Thanks, Annalie. Whatever people want to share in there. So
one of them's come through: procrastinating the hard stuff and lack of focus.
Lack of focus and procrastinating. Fantastic. And I'll just make a note of these because I can't see those questions coming up. Okay. Procrastination.
Another one is staying on task throughout the week.
Yes. Focus, staying on task. Okay. Do any of you have too many emails? I wonder if that might be an issue. What were you going to say?
Yeah, one of them just come through: avoiding admin.
Avoiding admin. Okay. Great. Okay, and just keep adding those in. Is there anything else there, Annalie, or we'll keep going?
Nope, that's it for the moment.
Good. Okay, thank you. Okay, some of the other questions that I often hear from people in your industry, well, some of them you've already basically stated. So there's interruptions, there's also delegation. Now, some of you might be saying I haven't got any time to delegate, or I haven't got the money to pay anyone to delegate to. So we'll come to that directly. Maybe unproductive meetings and how to manage all the info. That's your avoiding your admin issue comes in there, the info and the paperwork. So we'll have a look at some of those things as we go along. To start with, let's frame it up. You guys are really good at helping people set their goals, giving them an overview and a perspective. And this is my perspective or overview, if you like, of the general topic of time management. I've called it the toolbar of time because we're used to looking at toolbars on computers, and this is a way of looking at things in a graphic perspective. Just really quickly, and at the finish I'll tell you how you can get more information on this, but here's what I see as the central framework. The big picture, knowing what our goals are, what's really important to us, and that's that first column that you can see there with 4 major life areas. Because if we're clear as to what really matters to us, what's important to us, then we're in a better position to make quality decisions. We've got that focus and that clarity that you can see at the bottom there. There's one little phrase that I really believe is probably our most powerful time management tool, and that is the ability to say no. That one little word, to say no, but hear me well, not in a career limiting or a relationship limiting way. So what can we do to push back in some appropriate way with appropriate language so that we don't get bogged down on other people's agendas and we're achieving the things we want to do. So there is far more to it than that, but it's around goal setting. The second one, planning and prioritizing. Those 4 steps there, I'm going to just pick up on 1 or 2 of those as we go along in a minute, but those are the 4 core elements. And again, I'll mention at the end how to get more information on that particular column of planning and prioritizing. Of course, the outcome is that we become more effective if we are managing our plan well. And some of those things that you've given me, like procrastination and the hard stuff and the focus, staying on task, and in fact, even avoiding the admin, they all will be picked up and supported if we can plan and prioritize effectively. Tips and techniques, that's pretty much everything else. What are the things that you do on a daily basis? How can you do them faster? You're very good at, I know I've seen so many of you working in gymnasiums and worked with a number of personal fitness coaches over the years, as well as with Lauren. And I know you're really good at monitoring the time that you're with the client. If this person's having a half hour, they've got their half hour and so on, and you've got your next client coming. But how do you manage outside of that? What are the efficiencies that you can find that will help you with all of the other things? I say to folks, become a walking question mark, because there are always things that we can do better. There are always process improvements. And it's such fun finding new and efficient little things, and I'll share quite a few of those in a few minutes. Now, the sanity gaps, that's what I call it sanity gaps, and if you like, that's really the whole work-life balance area. So what are we doing? Now, fitness people are working with health so much, and yet I've talked to a number of fitness people over the years who themselves really aren't getting the right amount of sleep, or they're not eating quite as well as they might be because their lives are so full and so busy. So what are you doing to make sure that you're getting those little gaps through the day? And how often do you take a holiday? All those kind of things. What are we doing? Why are we doing all this work? We're doing it to have quality of life, to have a life that we love, and to feel a sense of achievement. And I know you're helping your clients with that. What are you doing for yourself? So that's the basic framework of it. Now, one thing, and you folks may possibly know this, but let's just talk for a minute about ultradian rhythms. The reason I bring this one in is because I strongly believe that we're not just talking about time management here, we are also talking about energy management. And if we understand our ultradian rhythms and how that works for us in our body, then we can work within those peaks and troughs, if you like. So our up energy cycle is 90 to 120 minutes, as you see there on the screen, and the down cycle is the 15 to 20 minute trough. This cycles all day and all night. Our nighttime patterns, of course, that's what when we talk about REM sleep and all that sort of thing, that's where that fits in. But this ultradian rhythms, and I'm not coming so much from the health perspective as the efficiency perspective in this context, is that if we can work within those rhythms, as I mentioned a moment ago, then we'll become more effective. So here's the thing. You're working away at your desk, you've got activity going on, and there's time pressure, and so we keep pushing and pushing and pushing. How often does your body say to you, time to stop, kiddo? How often do you step away and listen when the body does do that? If we keep pushing down into that downward cycle and we're not shifting our position, doing something different, moving, then we will cease to be effective. And if we're working on the keyboard, if it's a period of time you're doing that sort of work, you'll start making mistakes, you'll be tired, etc., etc. You'll just do less effective work, and you won't be able to concentrate as well. Your body will tell you. That if we can make sure that when we're in those down troughs, we're stepping away, but also what am I trying to say? Yeah, sorry, that's a bit clumsy. Save the things that are of high energy and high focus for the times when you're on high energy. So the hard stuff, for example, if it's important and you do need to do it, do that first thing. Don't put that off. One of the big issues with managing our time on a daily basis is that people will use their they use their best time, their high energy time, for getting the little stuff out of the way. Like when I say to people, what sort of things, if you've got a to-do list, what do you do first? A surprising number of folk will say they'll do the easy things first because they want to get them out of the way in order to then get to the big things. Well, here's my point on this one. Wrong order. If instead we work on our high value things first while we've got the high energy, not only are we working with the ultradian rhythms, but we are working with the ultradian rhythms, and we will achieve so much more in our day because we've done the things that require the highest energy. Doing the small things first, in fact, just consumes our time. So it's back to front thinking. And on this next screen, and this is picking up the point about the weekly planning, is just one example of how I use a diary. There is daily planning as well, and that's talked about in just a moment. Actually, I will give you the reference for how you get hold of that information, and how you can get a copy of this chart as well. Is the key point about this one with the weekly planning is to block in on a regular basis the things which we are wanting to, it's the higher value things. So to turn your diary or your organizer into a planning tool, not just have it as an appointment taker. And that's what I find most people will do with their diary systems, whether it's electronic or paper, it doesn't matter. But many people do use them just as appointment takers. I'm suggesting instead that you start setting time slots in your calendar for some of the other activities that are not time sensitive. So for example, with self, well-being and spirit, that's where a lot of people, just up here on the top left-hand column, a lot of people would put their health and their exercise. When I'm working with regular audiences, not in the fitness industry, and I ask them what would be a goal that they wanting to achieve, almost everybody says something about health or fitness. And what's often happening for the ones that are not doing it well is that they're not scheduling in specific time slots and specific actions. So you guys are the world experts on all of that sort of thing, but that's just one example. You're asking your clients to schedule those things in. What are you doing for yourself in business and career? What are you doing for yourself in your home and family area? If you are involved with community things, what are you doing in that area specifically this week and in which time slots? And the place you'll get more of information about this whole area of the planning and prioritizing is at my website, which is gettingagrip, planninginprioritizing.com, and just on every page on the site, there is a space there to just fill in your name and email address, and you'll get a free report called How to Master Time in Only 90 Seconds. And that gives you much more information on this whole issue of planning and prioritizing. Now let's have a look at something else. In fact, I tell you what, we could just take a couple of questions if there are any questions on that planning and prioritizing, if you want, Annalee.
At the moment, I think you're explaining it very well, because don't have any questions so far.
Oh, super. Okay, that's great. Now, what a lot of people say to me, look, I haven't got time to get all the jobs done. Let me just tell you a wee story. Sorry, that was a sip of water. When I first started my business, which was 22 years ago, I began doing work in the time management field. And just as an aside, I will say I got into the whole scene because I was bad at my own time management. And it was some years prior to that that a friend had said in some frustration, for goodness sakes, Robin, go and get a decent diary. It was the learning that I got from having that diary and working through the processes that I'd learnt that moved me towards doing a little bit of one-on-one work with some people, and then starting to run courses. And now 22 years later, here I am with books behind me and working all around the world and all sorts of stuff. But here I was, right at the very beginning of my business, as one or two of you on the call perhaps may be in that space, thinking, how am I ever going to get all this work done? I just have so much to do, and I just seem to be really, really busy. I said one day to my husband, oh, I need an assistant. His answer was, Robin, you can't afford it. Well, when somebody tells me I can't do something, I get a little bit pig-headed. So I thought, well, maybe I can. Let me just think about this. And then I realized that I didn't in actual fact know where I was spending my time. So here's a simple thing that I really suggest because it made a huge impact for me. Get a sheet of paper, draw it up as you see this here, and in the first big column you're writing down everything that you do for the week, and some of the things that you do less frequently, you put them down as well, anything that you are doing less frequently but do regularly. Then how many hours per week you're doing in the second column, and then in the third column, the number of hours that somebody else at a lower pay rate than yourself probably could do, or somebody else could do that would do it far more efficiently than you. When you've got that itemized, I wonder if you'll get a shock like I did. What happened to me was big long list on the first column, second column 80 hours per week, and the third column, that was the really shocking one, was 40 hours per week. I'm going, oh my gosh. Now, that didn't solve the problem about the money, but here's the thing, folks. Once we know what it is that we're really wanting to achieve, that's that clarity and focus again, it's interesting how the answers show up. And in my case, very shortly after that, a friend approached me in a similar situation with overload, and we ended up getting a young girl off a government work scheme. But there are heaps of places around. Some of the key things that I would suggest about this is the questions you're asking yourself, what can only I do? Where's the money coming from? Because you should be investing your time in the things that are going to give you the money. If it's bookkeeping, and most people, in entrepreneurial sorts of people like yourselves, don't really enjoy doing the bookkeeping. Even if you have to pay somebody more money per hour than what you're making yourself at the moment, do that, because somebody else will do it infinitely faster in far less time, and that'll free you up to get on with the things that really make a difference. Now, the interruptions, I just want to talk about interruptions for a minute. I wonder if anyone has any idea how much time, and feel free to write into the box there if you wish, how much time is wasted in an average knowledge worker's day with interruptions. And Annalee, if you've got any comments coming in, just quickly call them out to me.
I will let you know.
Very good. I won't divulge the percentage yet. I'll give you time to just write that in. So what percentage of time is wasted? The big issue is that when we take an interruption, the question is, how long does it take to get back on track? Anybody answered yet, Annalee?
We've got a guess at maybe 30% with Facebook and social media access at work.
Very, very close. It's around about 25 to 28%. is wasted due to interruptions of various sorts. And it's not just Facebook. In fact, if you think about it, anyone that works, and some of you may be working in an office with other people, but if you've got people around you or you've got distractions going on, it's not just the time when people come towards you if you're in that space, or if you're working independently in your home office perhaps, or in a gym somewhere, not just those kind of distractions, but it's also every time, it's how long it takes us to get back on track once we've taken an interruption. So it might be a phone call, email. Now here's a quick tip on this one. With your email, because we promised you a few email tips, turn off your email alert. That would be a really huge one. We do not need to know, almost probably none of us on this call need to know that we have just had mail. If you're using Outlook, it's in File, and you go to File and then go to Options. I think it's the same in all of the different versions, and find the section that's turning off the 4 notifiers. If you're using different systems, there'll be different ways, but go to your Help menu. So that's a really big problem, and it's a quick tip. But what can you do to create, and here's another tip if you like that would fit under the solutions and the tips and techniques section of that chart I showed you earlier, is how can you chunk your time so that you are focused without interruption on a task. The problem is, just last thing on the interruptions, the amount of time it takes us to get back on track once we've taken an interruption, that's one part of it, and how long it takes us, even if we're not interrupted, to get into flow on something. So first part, it will take us 10 to 20 times the length of the interruption to get back on task. So if we have been interrupted for, say, 30 seconds, it could take us 5 to 10 minutes to recreate that flow that we were at. The other part, how long does it take us to get into a real flow, a deep flow, if it's something that requires good concentration? Usually for most people somewhere between 15 to 20 minutes. And you can imagine if you've got bips going and you've got alerts on phones and all that sort of stuff happening all around you, you never really get going. So that's a serious problem. Now, meetings. We did promise some tips on meetings, so I wonder if any of you can recognise, well, you're not going to look like the birds, but that just reminded me of when I lived in Sydney some years ago, and I had these gorgeous rainbow-coloured lorikeets used to meet on my balcony, like they were having a meeting, but it was a very unproductive one, I'm sure. Here are some questions that you might like to ask yourself when you've got meetings coming up. You get a chance of a replay, so I'm not going to go through there in great depth, but if you ask yourself these questions, it may be that it will diminish some of the meeting time that you are currently spending. Now, office systems, I want to just quickly talk about the office systems. This little phrase I often use when I'm in a seminar, and I get people really going, oh my gosh. Now here's a little bit of hope for you if anyone struggles a bit with the admin-y sort of thing. This is Kirsten's office. She was doing a webinar with me from her home in Australia at one stage, and she was working from her home, and this is what her office looked like. After the webinar, she couldn't wait to get stuck in, and here's the same office and what it looked like later. There are 3 steps, and I am going to be running a webinar in October, a series of 3 events, 3 webinar sessions. This is a series, and so you might like to know about that one. But here's the 3 core issues that we need to deal with. Have we got the right layout and equipment? How we go about sorting things out and setting them up, and how do we stay organised once we've done it? So those are the 3 areas that we need to develop. And obviously there's a lot more to it than that. Now here is we're getting close to time, and I want to make sure we've got plenty of time for questions. So here's the opportunities for more help if you do need more help on things there. All sorts of things are listed there, right from the free down through to putting a wee investment in there for yourself. So most of that is all listed. In fact, it's all listed at my website, gettinagroup.com. The next question I have for you is, what are you going to do? What are the areas that you need to get some action going on for yourself? So I'd love you to write in the chat box what you're specifically going to do. That could be one thing. And the other one is any questions that you've got there to give Annalie to pass on to me. So Annalie, anything there at this point?
I have one thing here from Michael who says, clear out and sort the office.
That's what you're going to do. Fantastic, Michael. There's lots of free information on the website as well. Have a look at the articles. But if you'd be interested to come to the webinar, attend to the webinar, it's pretty affordable price there. Have a look at that on the that link there, gettingagrip.com, and it's got it all there on the screen. Product/product/getting a grip on the paper war. You'll also find it under the events button. Actually, that's a quicker link to it. I should have put that link in. Sorry. So well done, Michael. Good luck on that one.
It looks,
Sorry.
Robin. Oh, hang on. One more. Here we go. Michelle says, I need to use that weekly sheet and make sure that I put my own fitness needs under self. And she says, thank you very much.
Oh, very good, Michelle. That's great. Don't forget to get the free ebook or free report that's listed up at the top, gettingagrip.com, and you'll get all of the more detailed information again, and it links back to goal setting as well, and it also talks about the daily planning, which, given that we only had half an hour, I didn't go into that, but there's a lot more detail in that little ebook, and it's quick to read.
Hillary also says that she's going to sort the paper.
Oh, great. I had a feeling this might be the issue, because you guys are so fantastic at keeping yourselves fit and well and things like that. But the admin is boring for people that are out there dealing with people, isn't it? And it's just, it tends to mount up, and you rush in and you do something, you put the paper down, and then, and I've seen it a million times, and then you look around and that little statement that I gave you before, and let me just go back and reference it, is every piece of paper, information or equipment lying around is a symptom of a decision not made or an action not completed. And that really is what it's about. So if we can develop a habit of completion, of putting things away as we go, that will have a huge impact.
Robin, I think that you have hit the nail on the head. It looks like everybody is in some stunned silence or are too busy cleaning their office up. You've done a great job. So on behalf of the PT Council, I'll say thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. I got some really great tips out of there myself, which is great. And we really appreciate your time and your expertise. So thanks for joining us today.
That's my pleasure, Annalie, and it's nice to be able to know that I have achieved it in the half hour you scheduled me. I've obviously had to skim quite fast over a few things, but half an hour, did the best I could on that.
Perfect, and Michael has also put in there thanks for that great tips.
Oh, so, thank you, Michael.
Thank you very much, Robin, and thank you everyone for attending today. Our time together is up, so what I'll do is I'll shut down the webinar and I will wish you all a fantastic day. Thanks so much. We'll see you again next time. Thanks, Robin.
Bye. Bye.